Okay, guys, so if we can actually start with quick introduction of yourself, really one sentence of what you are doing, what is your company, where are you currently involved, and so on.
Hey everyone. My name is Martin. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Macaulay, which is vibe coding tool for non-technical users. I do pretty much everything.
Martin, congratulations to the recent acquisition by Team Blue.
Oh, thank you very much.
Really cool, work. And actually, Martin is very, very humble guy. Like he's a serial entrepreneur, and prior to that, he sold avocado. So if you would like to be successful in startup business, better find this guy and start something with him. So
thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Soheyla. I have been in the data and AI space for over 10 years. I have a PhD in computer science, been doing a lot of stuff in AI, developer, researcher, product manager, head of AI. And fun fact, I was working with Dagi and he was my CTO, and I can confirm he's an awesome guy. I'm not working with him anymore, so I don't have to say that.
Because of bossing.
That's not the reason. That's not the reason.
Currently, I'm working at T-Mobile doing AI governance.
Okay.
So hi, my name is Anna Bohonek. I'm a business lead at Fameplay AI. We do high-value AI production, so it's more of a combination of filmmaking with generational models, and it's the only team that has won an Emmy Award in Czech Republic.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ondřej Plátek, and I'm from Bottlecap AI. We are trying to make a research center here in Prague, in Czech Republic, in EU, and not in the US.
Thank you for introduction. When we spoke with Filemon about lead out question for this chat, I wanted to share my own story, and Filemon seems to be puzzled a bit, so I will try to lead out this discussion by my personal story. At Atacama, we built a pretty good harness around the Cloud Code. So Cloud Code is able, for example, to investigate outages which from time to time happen. And last week, one of such server outages happened, and I asked our Claude what kind of what customers were affected by this outage, and I got the answer. And at the bottom part of the Slack message, there was also price for answering that question, and it cost me $1.5, which is pretty a lot, because if I would take a look on Notion, it would cost me nothing except like 5 seconds of my time, which is pretty cheap. So my question to you guys would be, how do you see the economy behind the AI? How do you perceive the subsidized prices? And if you can comment, each of you, from your own perspective. So if we can start for Martin.
It's a really good question. So I think the biggest issue is that revenues are not revenues anymore. So before, when you run a SaaS company, there was not that much cost associated with the sale. But right now, like everyone is using commercial AI models, and the cost is pretty high. And I think that most of the companies, or I would say like all of them, are still, at negative gross margins. And the only way to, come after that is to increase the prices. So I think like that we are seeing Claude for $200 unlimited. It's something that we're gonna definitely not see in the future. And for our case, it's about optimizing the cost of acquisition, because before acquisition was mostly like ads or something like that. But right now you need to count in the tokens as well. So one free user for Macaulay cost €8. So if you can imagine, with the conversions, you need to pay a lot of money to acquire at least one customer, and then the customer, spends in a lifetime, let's say like €200. So it's something that we need to, solve. We are still in negative gross margins, and I think the future could be, even like hosting your own models on your own infrastructure, or I think that's the solution for us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Martina. If you can move to your perspective, Soheyla.
Yeah, so from my perspective, it's very interesting to see how China and US market is competing. Recently, DeepSeek decreased their prices by a lot. So, for example, myself, I'm using DeepSeek APIs for running my agents, and it's uncomparable compared to prices. Now, there should be a router, so you know what you not to send there, but still, I think it will change the dynamic in a geopolitical way. Regardless, my bets are on mini models, which will be open source and specialized, which you can run on your own infrastructure. But it comes with its own issues regarding governance, which I hope we get the time to talk about.
Anna?
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned, that this question cost you this many dollars. And I just recalled one thing from my past career. We were doing productivity analytics before the Gen AI. And even if you were asking questions your colleagues that could have been otherwise easily searched, that also cost time and their time and refocus, especially if they were in a flow and you would distract them with a question that you could have not just Googled, but maybe found somewhere. So that costed like 23 minutes, and that can be very costly if that happens frequently through the day. So I think that every time in the life the question had a cost, but now it's just more visible. And I can I can relate to this topic from the perspective of the generational models for the video, and we deal a lot with the marketing teams, and we hear a lot. We will wait until it gets a little cheaper. But the fact is, video and audio is not, especially video, is not getting cheaper. We are now dealing with dealing with a video model provider that has really good output, but costs $2 million a year, and that will be reflected in the prices of the commercials, etc.
Martina, your perspective?
It's Ondřej.
Ondřej.
Yeah, I screw it at the beginning, and now you continue in this.
It's
Like
fine, but
It happens.
my father is my
yeah, once in a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I heard two extreme cases. One is like question answering or something related to that. One other one is code generation. I'm able to like consume like millions of tokens per day, and I think this is a great examples how to think about it, because in order to pay your hardware per your local model, you need to have extreme costs. Otherwise, you just invest millions without any justification. So if you are like spending $1 per like the solution, it's great, right? But if you are spending 1 million per AI, per hardware, and you don't even have a product, which I'm seeing all around me, I think that's crazy too. So and by the way, to get cheaper AI, cheaper training, it's not only about hardware, it's also about algorithms, and that's what we are trying to do slowly.
Yeah, Ondřej, maybe can you build on that? How you gonna save us? From these extensive bills.
I'm dedicating this to Martin, but well, we are trying to use open source models, and there are a lot of them. And one of the things we are asking ourselves which one to use, which is the best, the benchmarks, but also the biases, the shifts there, because it has somehow hidden costs. It's a black box, and you don't know what comes in the black box. So I think we will come only to that when the industry moves there, because nobody is using them right now except like few cases, few labs, few POCs. But I think it will be the topic of next year or two.
Perfect. From your perspective and your domains, would it make sense to start playing maybe not with the open source models, which are not there yet, but maybe with the local models, or what might be other cost effective optimizations.
Maybe a small poll to actually keep our audience at the temperature. Who is there? Who is here? Who is already playing with local models and like trying to generate code, and it's meaningful, basically for.
It's meaningful. So two hands so far and one so.
So we have like 5. Okay, cool. 6.
If you can start, Martine, or if it doesn't have to be, the only optimization method that you put in place. I mean, like local models, open source models, but maybe some other, techniques like degrading from the more expensive to less expensive models.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe I can start describing how our agent and code generation works. So what we do, we have a couple of, instruction and skills, and we use Anthropic commercial models, OpenAI commercial models, and now we're playing around with Kimike 2.6, which is open source model. So that's the current setup, and then you need to. When you generate the code, you need to compile or build the code somewhere in a safe environment, and we are using for that sandboxes from E2B, really good company, by the way. So we are using the sandboxes from them, and right now we are using Next.js as a framework for generating the sites, or as a framework, right? And there is two things. Like one thing is the cost of E2B itself. It needs to run all the time while it's building, and then there is a lot of API calls and stuff that is inside the sandbox. The one optimization is to change the framework and just build static builds, and you don't need to run the sandbox itself. And then we're using a database called Convex, which is pretty cool because you can then have all the API related calls deployed on their infrastructure, which is a lot cheaper because it runs only if you call them. So by that, we can decrease the cost of E2B by 95%, which is a lot. Currently, when we compare cost of LLM tokens and E2B, it's like 80 to 20%, so it's a lot. And we can do like 95 to 5%. So that's one optimization. And the second optimization is definitely for us, we're serving thousands of customers monthly, and it's going to be like hopefully hundreds of thousands of customers monthly. And so we need to find a solution that is scalable. And it's not just local models. Maybe in the future, if it can run on the users' computers, maybe, but right now we're looking at mostly Kimike 2.6, which is pretty good. It's not as the same quality as Anthropic commercial models right now, but something like half year in the past, right? So there is some gap between that, but it works pretty well. And we start playing with OpenRouter and hosting those models there. Work pretty well. But right now, since we are in the TeamBlue company and they have a lot of assets, we purchase a cluster of NVIDIA chips B20 for 1 million euros. And right now we are trying to run our own models. But I think the biggest feature wouldn't be, or the biggest, competitive advantage wouldn't be the cost, but would be the speed. So if you can speed up the code generation, that would be something that you can really, do with your local hosted models.
Thank you. Ondro, from your perspective as a LM researcher, what is ahead of us? What is on the third horizon in regards to cost optimization and let's say model optimization? Something like DeepSeek, Sputnik model again ahead of us.
It's hard to say. There are those things called diffusion models. I'm quite a big fan. The gist is that the current model generates one token at a time, and per token, it's extremely costly to do. The diffusion models are a little bit worse at the moment, but they are generating tokens in parallel. Mm-hmm. So if you are not caring too much about the quality, or you are just spitting out tokens for some use cases, like thinking traces, etc., it may be the solution. I am not sure. The research is great in the things that is playground, and you never know which kid wins at the end. but I would bet on this one. And by the way, Chinese models are amazing at that. That's one bet. The other bet is that local small models is emerging for sure, but for that you actually want to fine tune them, to modify them, and I think industry is not like ready for that because they are not used to do it with the big models. So I think the the company which wins the fine tuning, like Hugging Face, kind of goes in that direction and makes it profitable for the SaaS or companies. I think that would be like the moneymaker actually.
Yeah, maybe question to our beautiful audience. Who of you already, run out of the AI LM budget already and have to ask boss, to improve the increase of the budget? Can you raise your hand? Oh my God, not so many hands.
Yeah, this is interesting, right? How it shifted because when these models started to be really good, like autumn last year,
Yeah.
boss were urging their employees like spend like crazy, generating, saving money, and then the bills actually came, and then Anthropic actually closed their Cloud SDK for agents, and all this stuff. So really terrible hits, and now the boss is like 200 is enough, and so.
Yeah.
Soheyla, how do you perceive this situation? Because you are communicating on daily basis with these C-level guys, like what's the mood up there?
Do you want the LinkedIn version or real version? Because according to LinkedIn, everybody has leverage AI, 80% cost effective, But in reality, what I see, that's not the case. I was in Austria. We had a conference, and at the beginning, I asked executives, 100 people in the room, raise your hand if you know how much AI cost your company. 3 hands. Including the guy from Microsoft who was a CTO and who was a speaker. Of course, he should know. So they don't know really what's happening, especially in the corporate 6,000 employees. And it's because they think linear about cost of AI. Right? Token is one thing, yes, but we have shadow IT, right? When the employees are purchasing something locally in their own company, in their own department, and not everybody knows because there is no central budget for it. And then there is cost of infrastructure. There is also, for example, vector DBs. They are also the cost fine-tuning if we have skills for that, which I agree with Ondřej. It's going to be the future. But it's also adding the cost. And at the end is the cost of the people who are working on that. So all of them adding up together. That's why I think the governance is very important. Now, people think about governance and they think about different things. One is that, okay, what am I spending on? Who is spending? Does it make sense that we spend on that? This is one thing. And the second thing is about, are we compliant what we build? Which I got freaked out a little bit after I hear you about local model. We can discuss it later because they have their own issues.
Okay.
Anna, if you can comment on this, model choice based on your perception from the let's say creativity perspective. Does it mean that all that cost for the model will have to be materialized at the cost of the kind of the goods that you produce?
Just to repeat the question, if all of that
If it sorry, let me rephrase it. If it really matters what kind of the model and its price really matters when it comes to the final outcome.
So when creating commercials, there is, as I imagine also in your businesses, there is this human and creative part of it, and then there is the actual execution of the scenes and of the video and of the audio. So the beginning side of the things is kind of staying the same, but then what had to happen in the minds of the filmmakers that are part of the team, which is more interdisciplinary, is they couldn't think about the scenes the way they thought about them when they were using cameras. And at the beginning, it was a lot of, fail and try again. And we were running into a lot of obstacles, like sometimes the models just don't get physics, and you are working with Vio, and then the bill comes in, and it's 2,000 euros for one failed scene that you just retried in many ways. And in our current tech stack, there are about 50 tools, models, if you want to call them, that we use and test for different styles of types of commercials. Depends whether there is a consistent character, which is more like an animal character. It's more like a mascot. It's more like more like a person. So there was been a lot of cost in that learning, and then there's a lot of cost in that actual generation, which you've been trying probably some of the easier ways how to create simple videos. That there are glitches that you have to take care of, and I have a couple of options, and then work with editors, which is still like a manual thing that happens a lot within it. So that meaning, even that we create commercials within AI, and sometimes the perception is like, then it should cost $500, right? Like the Rotor League ad. It's not the case. It goes into the tens of thousands of dollars. Not as expensive as an actual shoot, but still, it's not peanuts. Does it answer the question?
Yeah. It does. It does. Thank you. I read in the last, couple months, maybe even years, two very interesting books about the AI, and one of them was AI superpowers. And in this book, the author talked mainly about the fight, in quotes, between US and China, but we are here in the middle of Central Europe. So my question to you: where do you see the Europe within this AI game and fight? Yeah,
And
Philip?
how are your companies flourishing in this nice European safe house?
Yeah, so when we started Macaulay, we decided to, or like it was the same with Avoco, that we think globally, right? So we sell software not just to Czech Republic or Europe, but globally from the scratch. And it was quite different if you compare it to Avocode. And there was so much competition in the market, like Lovable and Bold and whatever, or Replit and so on and so on. So what we decided to do is to focus purely on Czech market and win it here, and then scale it in Europe. And that's what actually resonates even with the Team Blue, because their idea is to become the number first player in Europe for web hosting and SaaS solutions. And we see a lot of like good, like words from our customers and even like enterprise clients that we are, like European company. We are trying to, like finalize the cluster and finally use our own infrastructure, which is hosted in the Europe. The same with, like sandboxes. The same with databases and so on and so on. So I think yes, it's so important for European Union or even Czech Republic to invest much more money into the infrastructure and AI, hosting models, factories, and so on and so on. So I think it's something that we really need, and it's mostly about the security, right? So if the data are flowing somewhere and you don't know what they do with it, maybe the regulation in that case for some big companies are in place and they don't need to worry about that.
So you mean data flowing towards the Mr. Idiot, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
Good. Would you say, guys, from your perspective, that the whole discussion about data privacy, data locality, even accelerated with the recent, or maybe not recent, but the changes within the U.S. administration, and Donald Trump? Maybe Soheyla, that's a question to you. What is your perception?
So far, Europe was the first one who started with EU AI Act. I guess it was like a few days back that we heard also Trump wants to do something similar, maybe like not that tight. So they are catching up in a way, but there are pushes from big players, right? Sam Altman was like pushing against it. what I see here is that, so there are two things, right? There are those who are providers of LLMs, large language models, and then a lot of them, a lot of companies I've worked with, they are deployers, meaning that users of this LLM. So now I think we should do in both. Okay, yes, we should have our own large language models in the EU, but in the same time, a lot of companies who are also deploying, calling an API from other models, they should also be aware and compliant with what they're building. Data residency is one of them. Yes, data should be hosted in EU, which is not an issue. And I believe that more and more people should be aware what they build, how they should build it responsibly. Again, from my perspective, I have been building several native AI products, and I have seen the ambitions of these executives, VCs. That's why I'm very much pro regulation. Because before I am somebody in the AI space as a professional, I'm a consumer of other people's software. And we can talk about it later, but I think it's a good news that Trump is also starting with this, regardless of the scope.
Maybe, Ondra, from your perspective, how do you see all these, regulations coming in our way? Do you perceive that as something, positive that we, may regret if not being, put in place?
Of course, like you may regret it, but what I'm a little bit worried about in the EU case of regulation, that the big players are great at lobbying. They are the professionals in it. And if you look at the taxation, it's not fair, right? The big players can choose which country they tax in. They have taxes in Ireland, but Seznam CZ cannot do that. So at the end, EU regulation, when EU does the regulation, sometimes it regulates the EU states more than the external players. And I find it incredibly stupid because I'm sure that Trump won't do that this way. So I'm all pro-regulation, but I a little bit worry about the system of regulation in the EU. It's two-tier system. And if you have differences in the countries, it's not fair at the end. And the worst part is it's not fair for the EU companies in most cases. Sorry.
Yeah, Anna, from your perspective, how you perceive this regulation from the copyright and compliance, let's say, perspective?
Sure. So again, I come from the audiovisual side, which is the core of our product. And what we do as well among the commercials is we do proper hyper-realistic clones, so avatars, voice clones. So that's very sensitive data of those people. And haven't been for a very long time, and it will be in the EU, AI EU Act, the protection of, if you have a voice clone and avatar that's been paid by your company because you're a representative and you're using it in the communication, and then you leave, what happens with that avatar, right? So we've done a lot of legal work 3 years ago about the avatar and the voice clone itself that's the property of the person. Your voice belongs to you, your identity belongs to you as well. The outputs, videos that are created with those avatars, audios that are created with those avatars can belong to the company. So that's sometimes quite a discussion, especially in the regulated industries. So that's another level. The level that also comes to it that's been a concern to many of our clients is now we have to label the fact that we have AI content, that we want to communicate with avatar. At the same time, the best practice and the recommendation has always been, if you're using avatar, please always say it's an avatar. First of all, your consumers don't want to feel deceived if they find out. And from the perspective of a person that has 6 avatars and 3 voice clones, I also want people to know that I have such assets and that they might encounter them on the internet. And then there's, of course, another level to those discussions, which is where are the data stored, which tools you're using for that, etc. So that kind of falls into what you know in your company's infrastructure. Preventive workshops with our team about social engineering. What if happens that there is a person that calls on Friday evening or afternoon to especially some of our junior people and says, we need to publish this video with our chief economist on Monday. I need you to give me access right now. Put the pressure on it, right? So there are so many layers to it, which part of them that's been a discussion internal one on how do we deal with that, because it's not set in stone yet. And then now they're coming the 2nd of August regulation within the EU Act that are helping with some of these.
Yeah. Philemon, what's your perspective? Because we spent many
let me
hours
not go there.
about
Go there, you know, like
all the regulations.
No, really, I don't actually, I can't come up out of mind with any regulation which help the advantage of anything in
You
human
mean
history.
tobacco, alcohol, etc.
Really, anything, you know.
No,
So,
nothing. Ah, okay.
Our seatbelt.
yeah, seatbelt
Yes.
maybe.
I will ask another one. Sorry. So what Anna is saying is transparency, Article 50, meaning that if you're generating deepfake, and based on the law, deepfake can be any generated pictures, avatars, voice, you should disclaim it to the user. Is it bad thing that they must disclaim it, or is it a good thing for you as a consumer? Or your grandpa who is watching something on TV?
I would let market decide. But anyway, you know, this is different discussion.
I would also let our crowd to ask question via Slido.
Yeah, you can definitely ask question because you have like 14 minutes, you know, go. So if you don't use it, okay, yo, bad luck. Anyway, maybe if we can actually circulate it the way, it's very hard to envision in AI world what will happen in next month, right? So, but nevertheless, if you can try to actually think in a 6 months frame, what you would expect will pop up, what will happen in AI market, what we can expect from your perspective?
It's
Maybe Mythos is out.
yeah, it's a hard question.
Anthropic IPO.
Yeah, I think since all the commercial models are sometimes getting better and better, so I would guess that it's gonna be like more capable of doing much more stuff. So the last thing I was really surprised by something was the Chat GPT Image 2.0. It was something that really blew my mind, and since then we just use it for mostly everything. You know, even in Macaulay, we first generate the design with the model, and it generates like pretty good, like UX and the design, and then like social media campaigns and so on and so on. Right now, we are generating all this like fluffy stuff in the videos. Before you need like Illustrator to do that. Now it's a combination of this new model and Claude with some plugins, and you just put the time frames and it do all the stuff, and it looks really like real. So I would say that all the models would become much more capable of multiple things. But
But nothing special, really.
I don't see something like AGI or something like that. So I don't think it's going to be like something that.
I was kind of hope that Ondřej will tell us, that AGI is in his closet already waiting and LLMs
We
are
are
dead.
not in Lex Friedman podcast, Philemon, come on. But Ondro, try it. Try us.
Okay. I don't think that.
Thank you.
So that is the short answer. The much longer answer is, I don't think AGI is interesting because, and we will not know it for a long time actually if it is here. So let's don't speak about it. So let's speak about what it means that the agents are that great, and they are complicated systems and mostly used for coding, as far as I know. But I think that they will become the first users of computers where you will use agents instead of apps, instead of operating systems, you won't need to think about file systems in a few months, I guess. And I have no idea what it means for like the world, but I think the token usage will be increased, and that's what's about for the big players. What's about for us, it also means that they control the narrative, and that's what we are trying to do from the EU, because for that we have the money. So we have the benchmarks, we try to detect some shifts, some biases. There is the regulation, and it's good to know where the shifts are, and if the models from US prefer somehow Mark Zuckerberg. Would you guess which one is it? And which one, do you know the model names? Do you know who Grok is, what Grok is? Who is the CEO behind it? Do you know who?
Can you raise your hand? Who knows who is the Grok?
Great. So I know. I guess you know who's CEO, which CEO is behind Llama. So that's the questions we are asking, and I think that will be before Christmas we will be asking these much more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe ladies can answer these questions, because the name of this conference is Craft Over Hype, and there is a question about it. Do you think the AI bubble and hype will eventually pop and calm down, so we can get back to crafting again, or what?
I think craft is part of it from the very beginning, and I think that's so. This is a dev conference, but the people that I now work with, and I used to work in software companies, productivity analytics, education tech, on the business side of things, as a most of the time business development salesperson. That's who I am. So suddenly I am at agency, which is, I wouldn't call it necessarily already AI native agency, but it's on the way with the aspiration to be there. But the people that are there were forming the core part of it 4 years ago were filmmakers that understood at the time that their space is fundamentally changing and that they have to really, really reinvent themselves. And there were people that created very popular series here in Czech Republic, like, I will now tell the names in Czech because those are the relevant for the Mikýř, Kancelář Blaník, Marty is Dead, Roman Vaněk. And they really burned their old playbook. But what stayed was the craftsmanship of how to deliver really, really good story. And it's more like emerging through the possibilities. And since you are working with the creative people, they're like, their heads and eyes are just like bursting with excitement, because suddenly they are not only creating characters for a short movie, but for a voice agent. So you could actually have really interesting discussion. So in that case, I feel the craftsmanship is there, and it's only augmenting with new possibilities, and creative people just love them. And I don't believe that AI is a bubble as such. Maybe we are overvaluating it and asking stupid questions, and we could, find that question somewhere else and save the time and money. But I'm actually excited that I live in this time.
Yeah, I really like the example with the local filmmakers who saw the possibilities, because I think this could be also a recipe for our audience. What to do. Why we shouldn't be actually afraid of or maybe price for being a hype, and not. How would you spark this kind of a mental shift in yourself to actually find yourself in this new future based on AI? Maybe if you two can actually. Oh, Soheyla. Oh,
Yep. So, well, I also consider myself a creative person in my own way, which, as I said, is more of a sales. And it's, first of all, and that's costly, but it's the cost of learning. I play with the new area. I know I tried the different tools, tried them in ways they were probably not meant to be used, which is exactly what is happening to the tools we are using from 11 Labs, from HeyGen, from FreePic. We have Slack channels with their product teams, and they're just sometimes amazed what we are using it for. So I think that's the playfulness, and then suddenly it starts to click in, like, there are new ways how I can solve things, and I don't think that's necessarily so new to people who are builders and coders, because you were creating very abstract spaces, right? So for me, it's the playfulness and being able to dispute the ways I've done this process a month ago, and throw it away and start again in a completely new way.
So maybe for me, the mindset. I'm from Middle East, and I learned that you should accept whatever is there and move on. So I have accepted things have changed. Environment have changed. What can I do about it? I see there was a question here as well. If we are trying to also teach non-technical people in public setting. This is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, okay. One part of it is because I'm also teaching AI in university, and I see the computer science students 20 years from US Michigan University, how they are thinking, the skills are changing. So I was like, okay, it's here. I can do nothing about it. I can accept it and then say, okay, what I can do about it. I can prepare myself, okay? And I can help others. How can I help others? So I started these initiatives to educate parents who have teenagers to be more understanding about how the space is changing for their teenagers, what teenagers are using, and how to be a better parents using AI. So AI literacy for parents, and then only after that, now what skill sets I've seen that these students need to have because things are changing. That's my mindset, acceptance.
Okay.
Anybody else?
We-
No. I'm thinking if anybody else want to comment on the AI bubbles, because we might bet on it by the buying some stocks, guys. No, it was a joke. This is not investment recommendation, or how is called that disclaimer. There is one related question to Philemon. What is your opinion on OS, operating system, integrated AI agent? No, I'm joking. Anybody of you can answer it. But Philemon, eh?
I have been playing with OpenClaw since the very beginning, even before it was actually.
You're not afraid any, security issues?
Well, of course, like I'm only giving access to what I am actually open to be known. That's it. And yeah, I think it's coming. So my opinion is that I welcome it, because it's not only about like different channel which you use to actually communicate with AI. It's completely different feeling. Once the agent knows you, basically once there is an avatar which somebody is scared of actually this service, but you don't need to answer this. Well, for me it's the best. Like really, I have this year to generate my own avatar and deploy it in my company and actually use, I don't know, Hermes or whatever will be out there to act on my behalf, so my colleagues don't actually find out, and I can do something else, right? So
You mean like going for a trip to Balkan on your
whatever,
motorcycle?
By the way, can I ask, is it about the operating system, or is it about the agent? Because from what you described just the agent, and you didn't care at all about the operating system. So if I would run it on Linux and give you the same APIs, I bet you wouldn't care. Am I right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
Agents.
in our case, how we think about it, and we just recently had this idea because right now in Macaulay you have limited access to what you put in the context. But we were thinking, what if we, like attach as a volumes or as a flash disk, right, to the sandbox, all the data you have in Macaulay. So it could be like images, it could be like emails, it could be like everything you want. And then I think the next thing would be about optimization of the context. So since the context is going to be like bigger and bigger, you can put like a lot of stuff there, but there would be a point where you need to like optimize a lot of the context. But right now I was surprised by Macaulay what it can do, because it has access to bash scripts and all the stuff. And it actually did really cool stuff with just bash, and I didn't know that it actually capable of that. So, so it sometimes even surprised me what it can do, and I think that's actually what, because it's on Linux, right, and it has access to everything, but it's sandbox, so you don't need to worry about your computer and so on. But Claude it's pretty much the same, you know. You just give him an access to some specific folder, and you hope that it's gonna, you know, that it's not gonna destroy anything else.
Of course, with dangerous skip permissions,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Philemon, unfortunately, time is up. I think it's a good chance now to thank our panelists for great discussion, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please
You have
applause
been a
to our
really great
panelists.
audience. And thank you, our guests.